Okay, Net 297. Let's talk about getting Windows Admin Center installed. So in the last video, we were using Server Manager. Windows Admin Center is supposed to be a replacement for those RSAT tools that I spoke to you about previously. Remote server administrative tools, right? I don't have the RSAT tools installed on this box because this is a server and you don't generally want to manage servers from the server. You install the RSAT tools on a workstation and you do it from there. However, if you do a Google search on, not Server Manager, let me find the page, there it is, downloading Windows Admin Center, it's going to take you to the Evaluation Center, which is where you will end up. Okay. Now, prior to this page, let me see if I can go back one page. It's going to ask you for your name and your particulars and all that stuff. I suggest use a throwaway account, right? I don't care if my Yahoo account gets some spam. I mark it as spam. It goes in, the spam folder. Don't you... In fact, that's what a good Yahoo or Gmail account is used for. Anywhere that you have to register something and you're like, I couldn't care less about spam. I don't want spam going to my primary email. That's a good place, to start a free account and do it that way. So anyway, so you get it downloaded. It's this small file. You can see it's 128 megabytes in size. This is the year 2024. Month of October, right? That's how Microsoft is naming convention. That's the most recent iteration. You double click this. Excuse me one second. Sorry, these allergies. Okay. And so once you start, right, it's going to ask you to accept the license agreement and everybody's going to read it. I know. I'm just kidding. Nobody reads it. Okay. It's going to ask you some questions. First question should be about Express versus custom installation. I'm going to choose custom just so you can see every choice I get. I'm going to attempt to use custom. There we go. Okay. It's looking for a security certificate. I do not have a security certificate, so we will need a workaround for that. Okay. Let me pause the video and we'll come back. Okay, so if you choose Express, it's going to answer a number of questions for you. I'm going to do custom, but generally speaking, I'm not going to make any changes. Okay, I want to be able to access servers remotely, so this will set my firewall to allow communication over something called WinRM, Windows Remote Management. If I choose local access only, I'm only going to be able to get access to this one machine. Okay, I should choose Windows Authentication. NT stands for Neanderthal Technology. I'm just kidding. It stands for New Technology. If you are old enough to remember Windows NT, NT version 3.5 came out in 1993-ish. So it's not New Technology anymore. Kerberos is what you use today, right, for your encryption authentication protocol within Active Directory. So we'll use Windows Authentication. Okay? It'll use either or, port 443, unless you have a web server running on this thing, which is using HTTPS over port 443 for a different website. Then you'll want to change this to something else. Otherwise, 443 is fine. Okay? I'm going to use the, let's see, I'm going to generate a self-signed certificate. It's going to expire in 2 months, and I generally will get the warning that says the site I'm about to connect to isn't secure, even though I'm specifying HTTPS, because the self-signed certificate is signed by me. Who the hell trusts me? Right? I could be telling you that I'm Amazon.com or Microsoft.com. I can make a security certificate that says I'm anybody I want to be. So generally what you want to do is purchase your security certificates from a trusted authority, like a GoDaddy or, something like that. So for our purposes, who cares? Okay. My fully qualified domain name, because this is not a part of a domain yet, is just the host name. I do want to allow access to any computer. HTTP, well, let's see. If I choose, HTTPS. I'm going to bring the security certificate into question. However, it's likely going to fail because I don't have a CA or certificate authority installed on this machine. Okay, so we'll use the default HTTP. I'm going to use Windows Update because I want to. I'm going to specify required and optional. Generally, my rule is if I have to look at something, I want Microsoft to look at it as well. I don't know that Microsoft will look at this stuff, but, you know, it's generally, in theory, feedback to Microsoft is supposed to be used to make their products better. All right, so we'll install. I'll pause the video again. Okay, so while the installation is going, let's wrap up the conclusion of our server manager speech. So if I go back to all servers, if I go back to local server, if I scroll all the way to the top, okay, I don't know if you recall from the last video, the DC1 was online, the performance counters weren't started. If you right click down here, you're going to get the option to start the performance counters, and it takes approximately 30 minutes for them to start kicking off. Okay, now as we look down the list, you'll see most recent events, and you'll see I've got some SPP errors, I've got some DCOM errors, there's some DNS errors in here, things that I've got to fix. There are services that are running or not running. Okay. I did earlier today run a best practices analyzer, or BPA. Now, part of these problems is I have isolated this machine and this one from the internet, which is why my DNS server can't get to the root hints server, because this is located on the internet. Okay, an IPv6 address, an IPv4 address. Okay, these are your root hints. So when I go to yahoo.com and DNS on DC1 doesn't know how to resolve that, it goes out to the root hints server and looks for it that way. So I've got a number of issues that I could probably fix, but probably I won't. Okay, so by turning on performance counters, you'll see, right, CPU usage ranges from 1.5 to 48%. You can kind of see there was a spike here at about 11:30 a.m. I don't recall that I was doing anything at that time, but it could be a scheduled task running. I can also see that my available memory is, it's not terrible, right? It's about 50% free at most, about 950 gigs. No, that's right. This machine has 4 gigs. So it is kind of running low on free memory, but it's okay, because I'm not doing anything memory intensive with this box. And you can see the rules and features that I have installed. Okay, so by this time, Admin Center is still not done. So, okay, so while I'm waiting, we'll scroll back to the top. We'll select DC02. You'll see that some events are going to be the same, others will be different. You'll see that the services are probably going to be the same, but they'll be listed in a different order. You can see which server I'm looking at here in the leftmost column. I ran the best practice analyzer on both servers, so we should see the same issues on both. Okay. List of root hints. Okay, that's an internet connectivity issue. So it seems like all my errors are related to DNS, which could simply be fixed if I allowed this machine access to the internet. And you'll see here DC2. CPU utilization spiked a little bit at about 7:15 this morning, went up to 85%. My average is less than 0.5% to less than 18%. And my free memory on DC2, now remember, this is the core with only 1 gig of memory. So I've got less than 200 megs up to about 460 megs. And then what rules and features I have DNS installed on that, along with WOW64, that is Windows on Windows. The WOW64 support service allows you to run 32-bit applications in a shared address space on a 64-bit operating system. Okay, 32-bit applications should have gone the way of the dinosaurs a number of years ago. However, many of our customers have not yet done that. So we'll start Windows Admin Center. Notice the URL it's going to take me to, I should get the security certificate message. Okay. I'll wait another second. All right, let me pause the video and see what's going on. Okay, I just wasn't patient. I double-clicked this, and what happened was it brought up a second instance. Now, at first it said page couldn't be displayed, but you'll see it's a not secure site even though HTTPS is specified because my certificate is self-signed. I can click advanced, I can continue, and it should take me, and I'll close that second tab. And it should bring me at some point. Okay, I actually had to manually refresh the page with the F5 key on my keyboard. Okay, so I'm going to specify the local administrator /. And this will take 10 seconds to 30 seconds. Okay, you can read what's new. I'm not going to do that. Okay, now I can manage my server, or let's try this now. I'm going to add DC2. So we're going to add one, WIN-SVR 25 DC02. This is case insensitive. Uppercase, lowercase, whatever, credentials needed. Now I'm going to try to use my local credentials, or I could use, my credentials should be the same. Let's try. It will work or it won't. Okay, didn't work, so let's try this. We're going to specify WIN-SVR 25 DC02 / administrator. So the / means the administrator on this machine. If you want to specify the administrator on a remote machine, you've got to specify the remote machine name. And we're going to add with credentials. And if DNS internally is working, this should work, and DC02 should show up in the list. Okay, sorry for the jump cuts. I'm not being patient with this today. As soon as I hit the pause button, a literal 3 seconds later, it popped up. So let's bring up DC1. Let's take a look at what I can see. These are some of the things, but not all of the things that I can add to DC01. Want to make this part of an Azure Active Directory or AADC? You can do that. You want to back this up to the cloud? You can. Okay. You want to turn this into an online file server, which synchronizes your on-prem stuff to the cloud? You can do that. Okay. But locally, like what kind of devices do I have? This is a graphical representation of the device manager of this machine. I can see, right, because my machine, my host machine is an actual laptop. It has a battery. I should be able to play remote audio because I'm connected via remote desktop to this. I can add, disable, right, or delete. We can disable this. We can try to update the driver. Now, all well and good, because this is the local machine. Let's take a look at the event viewer. And you got to wait because the event logs are kind of huge. Whoopsie. If I could spell the word event. Okay. What I'm doing with this web page is bringing up this event log. And there are no shortage of events to look at. 216 application events. Probably a few hundred, if not a few thousand security events. Yeah, it's taken a long time because this machine is really starved for memory, and I'm asking it to do quite a bit. Okay, so all right. So anyway, we'll move on. I can add or modify or delete rules to the firewall. I can insert additional local users. So I can make myself a user. I can change the password for the existing administrator user. I can do packet monitoring. Now, maybe later we'll talk about that. But I can also do PowerShell. I can see what processes are running. All well and good because I'm connected to the local box. But where Admin Center shines is it's going to allow me to connect to a local machine. And again, right, these machines are pretty hard up for memory. So this is going to take a little bit. And I can see all kinds of things. How much free disk space do I have? How much memory does it have? Right, one network interface card, two virtual NICs. And all the same things appear here. So even though this is server core, and I can't bring up like File Explorer, I can't bring up most of the graphical tools on this don't work, I can turn this into a file server. I can turn this into a web server or a DNS server simply by using Server Manager or Windows Admin Center to choose. Okay, so this is taking some time because it's traversing the network. It's looking for the C drive, the D drive, the E drive, whatever drives I have installed on this thing, and it's going to bring them back over. Okay, so this is taking a little, there we go. You can see I still have the DVD drive mounted, right? So if I go to File over here in Settings, you'll notice that down about here, my Windows Server 2025 Evaluation ISO is still mounted. And it's telling me that. But I can browse the C drive. I can browse the C drive. I can right-click in here. I can make new folders. I can share files. I can see I have a static swap file. I set that up last time. Okay. And all the other things that I could do from the graphical interface, I can now do to a server that is missing the graphical interface. Okay, so we'll dig into some of these individual items as the semester goes on, but now this is just meant to be a basic overview of getting Admin Center installed, adding the second server, and then going from there. All right, thank you for your attention. I will see you all in the next one.